Assetto Corsa EVO has just confirmed key features for early access, and there are some huge shots at Gran Turismo 7. In fact, Assetto Corsa EVO is now genuinely a real threat to Gran Turismo, as there's features in Gran Turismo 7 that you can only get on PC in Assetto Corsa EVO. Gran Turismo fans, you might want to look away. Now with that said, I'm going to run through everything now confirmed for Assetto Corsa EVO and let you know if this represents value for our money or if Kunos are trying to charge too much for a glorified demo. So for those of you who don't know, Assetto Corsa EVO is the next main installment in a now legendary Assetto Corsa series, mainly known for its excellent mod support in Assetto Corsa and fantastic GT3 racing in Assetto Corsa Competizione. EVO is launching in early access in about a week's time and currently stands as the most wish-listed racing game on Steam. Up until now though, information regarding this early access period has been pretty thin on the ground, leaving us, if I'm honest, with more questions than answers. That is, however, until today, as the official Assetto Corsa account over on Twitter just posted this image, sharing the details of this initial early access period, although there are some puzzling omissions that have left me scratching my head, which I will talk about towards the end of the video. So what does this mean for the future of Assetto Corsa EVO and the sim racing genre, including Gran Turismo as a whole? Could Assetto Corsa EVO end up establishing itself as the real driving simulator and essentially the default sim racing game across all platforms? Let's talk about it. So to start off with, let's talk about the number of circuits and cars that will be present in the initial early access phase. We're able to cut through all of the noise, all of the second-hand information, incorrect information. Now I can give you the hardcore facts. So Assetto Corsa EVO will be launching into early access with a total of 20 cars and 5 tracks, which may not seem like a lot when you compare it to Gran Turismo, but there are two obvious factors to consider here. Firstly, this is early access. It would be unreasonable to expect the full slate of cars and tracks to be released right out of the gate, as technically the game isn't finished yet. Secondly, I can guarantee that more cars and tracks will be added over time as the early access period progresses, possibly working up to the full catalogue that will be available on full release, or perhaps we'll see a few added here and there, followed by a larger update for the full release. What I do think will be interesting will be to see which cars that we've already seen in the promotional material will also be present in the early access, as the different trainers have shown well over 20 different cars already. But all in, 5 tracks and 20 cars is a reasonable start for an early access build and could end up being particularly competitive if the price is in a decent range. I've already made a video about the pricing of Assetto Corsa EVO, so make sure you do go and check it out. Now before we talk about the most interesting information presented to us here, I'd like to quickly go over some of the additional features that are now confirmed to be in the early access build. These are features that we already knew would be in the main game, however it's incredibly exciting to see that they will be in early access for us to mess around with. Starting off with possibly my favourite feature. If you're subscribed to this channel, you will know I'm a big fan of virtual reality, having done loads of racing in GT7 with the PSVR 2 headset, as well as loads of PC VR sim racing with headsets such as the Pimax Crystal. This means I was super pleased to see that VR is going to be supported in the early access build of the game, and you can bet that I'll be testing that out and bringing some great EVO VR content to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it. Another big feature that I'm interested in here is the triple screen support. This is something that I've not actually had a super amount of experience with, however it's a kind of thing that AC EVO might just convince me to try out now that it's being supported in early access. I've seen some triple screen setups online that look truly amazing with those bezel kits that make it look incredibly seamless. Car customization and showrooms will also be available, which is one feature that I'm not entirely convinced about. Car customization is a fantastic option to have, as we've seen in other sims like GT7. The reason it works so well in GT7, however, is because GT7 is a very community-driven game. Players can share their customized car styles directly with other players, as well as photos and replays that show them off. You'll see why in EVO's case, this feature in early access is a bit confusing as we move into that part of the video. But the most interesting information that's shown here, and where we can come to some interesting conclusions regarding the aspirations of the developers, pertains to the gameplay loop and in-game economy that will be available in this initial early access phase. To start off, Assetto Corsa EVO will launch with no multiplayer functionality. It is a single player only experience for now. This is why I was slightly puzzled about the inclusion of a community driven feature like car customization, although it does make sense as car customization is a complex system to implement that will likely require a lot of testing, and we'll be doing that testing for free. I was actually a bit disappointed at the different modes available to us in early access for now, as there are only two, being quick race and practice. That being said, these two modes are more than enough for us to get those time attack laps in and test ourselves against a new Assetto Corsa EVO AI. I'm very interested to see how they'll stack up against the AI in a game like Gran Turismo 7, which, let's not forget, has the very impressive GT Sophie AI. Where things really start to get curious are the very specific features that Kunos are including in early access from day one, being car rental, car purchase, player progression through the earning of XP and ranks, a driver profile, and the inclusion of driving licenses just like Gran Turismo, as well as a driving academy. This information tells us quite a bit as to what kind of priorities Kunos has when it comes to the future of Assetto Corsa EVO and their ambitions to dominate the sim racing space as a whole. The fact that they're choosing to hit the ground running with a decent single player gameplay loop means they're serious about the offline experiences, with features on par with titans in the genre such as Gran Turismo. It also seems like they've been taking a close eye on the progress that games like Gran Turismo have been making and taking notes on what kind of features to implement. The car rental option is an interesting one when looking at other sims. For example, that was added to Gran Turismo 7 a while after launch, and it was very well received. In fact, I made videos at the time saying it needed to be added, and it was incredible to see the reception when it was. I would say that Kunos saw that, among other things. Did you know, for example, the hashtag #WeAreSimRacing has been the hashtag in the Kireth Community Racing Discord for 4 years now. But ultimately, Kunos want to make sure their single player experience is as player friendly as possible. Another interesting inclusion to this early access build is the ability to earn rewards and XP to rank up. It is possible that these rewards will include in-game currency used to purchase different cars, backed up by the fact that we will alternatively be able to rent them, which does raise the concern surrounding potential microtransactions in the future. If Kunos really are observing the sim racing scene as a whole, they will have seen that microtransactions to purchase in-game currency are not well viewed by the community. In fact, it's something that is generally disliked within the gaming sphere as a whole, not just sim racing. That being said, the more immediate concern will be regarding the progress we make in early access. Will our rank, XP and rewards carry over to the full release? Should they? Let me know what you think about that down below in the comments. Now, the license test and driving academy are also signs that Kunos have their eyes set on a complete single player experience, providing a way for new drivers to learn the basics and for experienced drivers to get to grips with a new handling model. An interesting way to implement these license tests in the future could be to integrate them with the online competitive races, requiring a certain license to race in specific categories or at higher levels. However, not all is perfectly clear. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there are some elements to this information that do leave me confused. To start off, there is no mention of the dynamic weather or dynamic time of day. Last year at the Sim Racing Expo, I was able to do quite a bit of driving in their demo build, which did include weather effects like rain as well as night racing. However, it is possible that this was a highly tailored demo build just for me and not at all representative of what we will see in early access on the 16th. Given that they haven't specifically said that dynamic weather will be present, I wouldn't be surprised if it's either limited or missing entirely. That being said, I would love to be wrong. Another aspect that I would like to see the developers provide more information on is how progression during the early access phase is handled. Given that there will be most certainly a lot of balancing when it comes to race payouts and car costs, as well as the amount of XP earned, it will be interesting to see how and if early access progression is carried over to the full release. If not, should there still be some kind of reward for players who engage in the early access program? I think it's fair to say that Kunos are heading into this early access period with a very clear goal in mind: to flesh out the single player experience and, more importantly, make sure it's balanced and player friendly. If they pull it off and the PC launch goes smoothly, the console launch coming further down the line could well make Assetto Corsa EVO the default sim racing title choice across all platforms, by the way, especially if crossplay is enabled. And I think it could replace Gran Turismo from being that initial recommended sim you can recommend to any beginner if they want to get into racing and sim racing. I'm hoping that we'll get some more information regarding the implementation of online racing soon, but in the meantime you can bet that I'll be enjoying my time with the sim from day one, so make sure you stick around to check out the videos upcoming in case you're not sure about jumping into the early access yourself.